Hey everyone, this is Let's Talk Valdosta podcast. I'm your host, Shara Denton, and I'm here with Marcus McConical, my co-host. And today on our episode of Let's Talk Valdosta, we have Anitra Riley, who is our Neighborhood Development and Community Protection Manager, along with Richard Joyner, who is our Rehab Construction Coordinator. Hello everyone, how are you all doing?
Hello, good, fine. How are you?
Hello.
Awesome. So the first question we have is, there seems to be a misunderstanding about what community protection is. We'll talk about them two separately. But community protection, what does that consist of as it pertains to you guys' department?
Okay, community protection is responsible for ensuring compliance with city codes and ordinances relating to the use of property, zoning, sanitation, and housing. And the common issues addressed are overgrown yards, abandoned vehicles or junk vehicles, litter, and substandard housing.
What is considered substandard housing?
Substandard.
That's a wide range, right?
Actually, substandard housing is any housing that's in violation of the International Property Maintenance Code.
Okay, awesome. And so with that, also you also have another department under your belt, which is your neighborhood development. And what is neighborhood development as it pertains to the city of Valdosta?
As it pertains to the city of Valdosta, neighborhood development is designed to aid in neighborhood development by providing decent, affordable, and sustainable housing suitable for living environment for low to moderate income citizens within the city limits of Valdosta.
Okay, awesome. And how do people apply to be a part of that, or is there a grant? Is it grant funded? How does that work?
Well, our housing program is funded through the Community Development On Block Grant. And what that means is that the city of Valdosta is an entitlement community, meaning we receive funding from the state. So what happens is once a year, once we receive the grant, we will allocate so many different funds to fund different projects, such as the housing project. We do economic development, public service, which includes our Great Promise Partnership Program. We present this to council in our annual action plan. They will approve the allocated funds, and then we'll submit it to HUD, and then we'll have a application process for our housing, which usually starts the first Monday in January, and it runs through April 30th. So that is how our citizens are able to apply.
Awesome.
And I know that you guys, with that CDBG fund or Community Development Block Grant, we do a lot of rehabs and rebuilds, which is a lot of what Richard does. I guess, what are we seeing when a citizen comes in here and they need either a rehab or a rebuild? What are you seeing out there in the field when you go visit somebody's house, Richard?
In a worst case scenario, I'm walking in and I'm seeing a property that's unsafe for occupancy, or it has violations that can be hazardous to the person's health, whether it be sanitation, electrical, plumbing, or mechanical violations of the code.
And I know one thing that you have done over the years is that you have to make sure that house has one owner, correct? And
Absolutely. It has to be a single, well, it can be two owners as long as they meet the income requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be a number of owners if they all live there and they all meet the income requirements.
Speaking of that, also kind of scaling back a little bit, you all have staff which are called Marshals. What are Marshals?
Marshals are, well, Richard, since you were a marshal, I'll let you answer that.
The city marshals are agents of the city manager that actually patrol and take complaints from the citizens for violations of the city ordinance or the International Property Maintenance Code, or even as far as zoning violations. So basically anything that's in the city ordinance, the city marshals, that's their job to ensure that those codes are complied with.
Okay. Could you give us an example of what a code would be that you maybe see the most?
Basic overgrown lots.
Okay.
A lot that's over 12 inches high, or have just an unkept yard, whether it be shrubs or vines. But basically overgrown lots where the grass is too high or weeds are too high. That's the most common complaint.
And Richard, can you talk about what a lot like that does to a neighborhood, as far as safety, as far as property value, that type of deal?
All these things, an overgrown lot can conceal criminal activity. It can act as vermin harborage, in other words, snakes, rats, anything like that. And it's just an unsightly, call it neighborhood blight, that these lots cause. Plus, they bring down property values in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and we as a city, we don't do this to pick on people. We're doing this actually to protect your neighbor.
Absolutely. And when people call that in, we protect the people that call in with the complaints. We don't need their name, and we don't use their name. All we want to do is respond to the complaint and verify if it's an actual complaint or not. Sometimes it's not.
And also to piggyback off of that, as he stated, the Marshals, they use the International Property Maintenance Code and the codes that have been adopted by City Council. The International Property Maintenance Codes have also been adopted by City Council.
They have,
for,
yes. These are state codes.
So these are state codes, and these are codes that the City Council has approved for the Marshals to enforce. So that's one misconception, that they are out just citing citizens, but they're actually following the codes that City Council has approved.
Now, I guess one question I have, if the property is abandoned, obviously it's the owner's responsibility. But if it's a rental property, who falls on fault if there's issues with that piece of property?
Again, it falls on the property owner, with responsibility going to a tenant if it's there. But if it's a vacant property, regardless, it's the owner's responsibility.
Okay. Are there any other misconceptions about either one of your departments, Ms. Anitra?
Aside from the Marshals, I would say no. We address that. But neighborhood development, I would think the misconception would be that we are able to choose who we want to assist with the CDBG or Community Development Block Grant. As we've always stated, it's first come, first served, first qualified. So that's how we operate in that department. So that's one misconception, that we only assist certain citizens in certain zones or districts, I should say. But that's one misconception.
And with the grant, what type of, and you don't have to go through the whole list, but what are examples of some of those qualifications to be qualified for those grants?
For the first thing, they have to live in the revitalization area. They have to be low to moderate income, and they have to have like a clear title. There can't be a lien on the title, on the property or anything. They can have a mortgage, but they can't have a lien on the title.
Okay.
And obviously, this money goes back to help, these property owners who are getting their houses rehabbed or rebuilt. But for me, who's been now with the city for several years, and I've seen so many of these ribbon cuttings, that's one of the happiest days for these homeowners. Can we talk about those moments when those people walk in their houses, their new houses or their rehab houses for the first time, and seeing the reactions on their faces?
I've had homeowners tell me that after we have rebuilt their home, that it was the first. I mean, this is someone who's maybe in their 50s or 60s, to tell me that it's the first time in their life that they lived in a safe home. So it's a great deal. It's very satisfying to me and Anitra and to our division, because we're all of a sudden seeing people that's life's improved. We've seen grades in school improve overnight, because now suddenly you have light to do your homework by, or you have a nice refrigerator to keep your food cold, or when you go to take a shower, you don't have to worry about falling through the floor. And these are the kind of situations that we've come across that we get to have a hand in improving, just improving basic quality of life of people that we take for granted.
And we also even had one who was so happy when she got into her home, as she stated to us. She was so happy when it rained, because for the first time she didn't have to worry about rainwater coming into her home. So she actually went out, sat on the porch just to watch it rain, and she cried because she was safe in her home.
Things that most people take for granted.
Just imagine being traumatized by rain.
Yeah, it really is. Like I said, those days that we go to those ribbon cuttings, I know it's satisfying for me as just somebody who's recording it on video. So I know it has to be satisfying for you guys who've done the back work to get these people in their new homes.
Exactly.
You guys have any upcoming projects that you guys would like to talk about or mention?
We have 8 projects working right We have 8 projects working right now. We have 2 rehab projects, and the other 6 are all reconstruction projects.
And we have 10 projects in
the
waiting.
Yeah, in the hopper.
Yeah.
And I know part of that is that COVID has slowed everything down over the last couple of years, so now you're kind of playing catch up. Am I right?
I wonder if it slowed us down at all. We
At
just
one
kind of
point.
plowed through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now we're just we're moving.
Well, you all have done a wonderful job helping these families and community members with what you do. So we do thank you for that. And I don't have any more questions, but is there anything else you want to add about your departments before we go?
I think you covered it, Miss Denton.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you.
Let's Talk Valdosta is a presentation of the City of Valdosta's communications team. You can download this episode and previous episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow the City of Valdosta's social media accounts to learn about future episodes.